The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And 4 minutes after the hour, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again as we journey through the universe with many, many mysteries and always opening our minds about the great mysteries not only out in the universe, but here on planet number 3. As we welcome you into your weekend, deeper into your weekend, of course, here on Talk Radio 77 WABC with me, Steve Cates, Dr. Sky. And the contact number, ladies and gentlemen, get in early, as we always suggest. The caller's rule on this particular radio show. The contact number, if you'd like to discuss with us the various guests that we have, their topics, and your questions and comments in the form of dialogue and critical thinking, 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, email me, just drsky at wabcradio.com. And we encourage everybody out there within the sound of this particular broadcaster, and not only all the other great hosts here 24/7 here on Talk Radio 77 WABC, to listen to our podcast, go to wabcradio.com, or the alternate, a great site, redappleaudionetworks.com. And always thanking our helmsman, making this particular edition of the Dr. Sky Experience sound just as good as it should. We thank both Tony and Bill, our navigators, as we move out in our magical starship. You know, ladies and gentlemen, as we move deeper into your weekend, big concerns out there about the concepts of technocracy and about transhumanism. And you've heard the name of the gentleman that we've had many times here as a guest, and we also have him for our 2 hours. We'll reintroduce Patrick Wood in just a moment. But just in case you're curious out there, as you're going in deeper into your weekend, hoping it's a beautiful, peaceful one indeed, you may have a little bit of, concern about what the word technocracy means and what transhumanism means. But let's start off with the basic tenets. What all humans want and should expect are freedom, prosperity, and peace. But technocracy, a better definition, goes on like this. Technocracy has always had the domination of man in mind. Even from its inception at Columbia University in 1932, as technology advanced, it has been commandeered at every turn to support its stated purpose of the science of engineering, abolition of private property, scientific dictatorship, and sequestration of all resources, among others. For the first time in history, technocracy has been wrapped in political ideology and a religious system, and now it seeks to escape the boundary of the United States. In other words, the new and expanded goal of technocracy is to build empire throughout the world using AI and cryptocurrency blockchain as so-called weapons of mass subjugation. That is in the definition of some. Transhumanism, a very complicated sounding word, is a philosophical movement which advocates enhancement of humanity through AI to overcome biological limitations and combating aging to achieve something we call immortality. And for the next 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen, who better to speak with about this subject is Patrick Wood. A little bit of his background. Patrick Wood is a leading and critical expert on sustainable development, green economy, Agenda 21 2030, and historic technocracy. He's the author of Technocracy, The Hard Road to World Order, Technocracy Rising, The Trojan Horse of Global Transformation, and co-author of Trilateralists over Washington. Wood remains a leading expert on the elitist Trilateral Commission, their policies and achievements in creating their self-proclaimed new international economic order, which is the essence of sustainable development on a global scale. Let's welcome to the Dr. Sky Experience a frequent guest and one that's very popular, Patrick Wood. Good evening to you. Good morning to everyone. And how are you today?
Thank you, Steve. Really doing good. Thank you very much.
Patrick, I'm so impressed. And I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I think you will be too by what we're about to talk about. Patrick was also part of a very big experience here in the media world. It's actually a podcast, even better than that. It's a broadcast that went around the world called Omniwar Symposium, the digital attack on humanity. Let's start there and to tell the entire audience, this vast audience of 77 WABC, what this is all about, because I think better than I could ever, sound here on the subject. You, of course, and the other people responsible for this, talk about this and the impact it should have to awake people to what we talk about here.
Well, I hope it will. My idea was to assemble a team of academics from around the world to make presentations on technocracy, legitimate, not conspiracy stuff, but fact-based presentations on technocracy and transhumanism. And that's exactly what we did today. We have a representative from the UK, one from Europe and Sweden, one in Japan. I represented the United States, North America. And so we kind of did a multi-continental, if you will, presentation. We're all English speakers, so that was a good thing. But okay. The purpose of it was to explain how technocracy is viewed around the world, not just in America. It was originally an American thing, you understand. But people in other countries now are recognizing that this is a threat to their countries as well. So that's what we set out to do this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing Patrick Wood here on the Dr. Sky Experience. 1-800-848-9222 as we dig deeper into the concerns. Maybe you have no concerns about AI or transhumanism, and you may say, wow, doesn't bother me at all. But for the vast amount of people out there that I think do have these particular concerns, we're here with Patrick Wood to try to put some, to put some logic into this and the reality check of what's really going on out there. Let's talk a little bit about California. We understand that Governor Newsom and the legislature just passed a bill called SB 53. And here's an interesting factoid. I'd like you to explain a little bit more about how people are coming to a realization about a concern about AI. And I may put it very mildly, because 32 of the 50 top AI firms are based in California. And the basis of SB 53, tell us about what this means, because maybe it is, earth-shattering. Maybe it is very epic that this is the first time people are really paying attention to some kind of a check and balance with AI. Tell us more, Patrick.
Well, exactly. There's been a war with the AI world against the government to deregulate AI altogether. And so it's been festering. The big, beautiful bill that was passed earlier this year, they tried to sneak in a provision that prevented the states from regulating AI. And the idea was that you're not going to get any money from the federal government if you do that. And so everybody says, well, okay, we'll let hands off at that point. Well, California is, they're in the mix at this point. They'd like to regulate AI in some way. Will they be successful? Who knows? But this is the struggle that's going on right now. AI versus the states. The states have immense power to regulate AI and basically clip their wings, if you will. California could do it if they chose to, but we all know how crazy California is in the first place, so who knows?
No, it's interesting, and just a little backstory on that, ladies and gentlemen, about SB 53. It's supposed to provide some safe AI in the sense of offering up public documents and reporting any nefarious AI incidents to the California Office of Emergency Services. But it started off, and I'm doing this by just reading this out loud here, as SB 1047. That was more of an AI liability bill, but this SB 53 shows more transparency. But again, it is kind of epic. So what would you say, Patrick? Many more states, obviously, and maybe we're giving too much credit to California. Do you know of other states that are actually pursuing to put a little bit of a lock on the AI, so to speak, or a check and balance on the AI?
Well, mostly the other states have knuckled under to the federal government at this point because when the big, beautiful bill was passed, it provides the withholding of funds for any state that wants to regulate AI. California is bucking the trend, and we'll see how that California likes all the money that they can get their hands on. So we'll see just if this flies. Yes. But most states at this point are knuckling under to the federal pressure to not regulate AI.
This is very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, as we diverge from our normal topics. In this particular case, you've heard me talk about stories of American exceptionalism. This particular 2 hours is really dedicated to the basic tenets, what, Patrick, of America's constitutional republic: freedom, prosperity, and peace. And that just doesn't go for America. I imagine the vast audience here on 77 WABC around the nation, the world, and I like to say, and of course confidently way out into the cosmos, I would imagine that most people should be very concerned about the number one of those is freedom. Because it seems what? Every single day, Patrick, and I don't make this stuff up, I'd rather have you describe this. I just get a sense and a feeling that we're being constricted, as if we have some kind of a big restrainer put on us as human beings. And look around the world at some other countries like China that has incredible overt surveillance. I mean, where can you go? Not that we don't have in the United States, but everywhere they're also based on a social credit score, not just a regular credit score financially. So, folks, are you concerned about all this stuff? I mean, again, I don't want to trash AI, and I don't think you're doing that either. But that's the concern here. How concerned are you? What can we do about this? 1-800-848-9222 is a pathway and a gateway to hear from everybody out there on their concerns. And I know you'll be, as we say this, very, very informative, Patrick. You do I think, a great job here. Technocracy.news, ladies and gentlemen, is Patrick's website as we go through the 2 hours as we talk here on the Dr. Sky Experience. Talk about this again. What are some of the 7 requirements of technocracy? I mean, this gets deep, and I think it's important for people to hear this so they can actually make up their minds as to whether or not these concerns are even something they should be worried about, concerned about, or say nay, not at all.
These requirements were made in 1934, believe it or not, from the technocracy study course itself. That was put together by the original founders of technocracy in 1932. And they specified control over energy. That they were all obsessed over controlling energy. But there was only 7 requirements, by the way. That was their assessment at the time.
Right.
The first 2 were about energy. The second 3, the set of 3, 4, and 5. Just listen to this. This is incredible. They didn't have the technology at that point, but they do now. But number 3, provide a continuous inventory of all production and consumption. Number 4, provide a specific registration of the type, kind, etc. of all goods and services where produced and where used. And number 5, provide specific registration of the consumption of each individual, plus a record and description of the individual. Does this sound familiar to anybody?
It sounds like the biggest anti-freedom thing we've ever talked about. And it's amazing. Is it a sugar-coated thing right now, AI, that most people go? And again, let the audience make up their mind on this. That's what we try to do. We provide information. And hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, you're a great audience out there, and a growing one indeed, that we talk in dialogue here. We like to have a conversation. And we also like to have that in critical thinking. And let's go back to the whole concept of critical thinking. Don't you think our own government shut down if both sides could get along by critical thinking and maybe having a dialogue? Maybe things might be smoothed over. Am I asking for too much? And who am I to ask for anything, right?
Exactly.
Right.
You know, this thing is really crazy today. This has survived for almost 100 years at this point. And it hasn't been watered down. It's been lurking in the shadows for all these years. It was especially resurrected in 1973 when the Trilateral Commission was formed to create what they called at that time the new international economic order. This is what we see today. Technocracy was modeled at Columbia University as a replacement economic system for capitalism and free market economics. This is the only system in the world that was created from scratch to replace capitalism. So, you know, this has been with us for a long time. People haven't recognized it. They see it now, I think, more and more when as economic freedom is squeezed from the population. And
yes.
People are starting to feel the pressure, if you will.
They do. Let's tell them how they can get in touch with you on this particular, I think, an epic in broadcasting. And I do say that because what's the length of OmniWar Symposium Digital Attack on Humanity? Just so we're fair to the audience and honest about how long this, not a 30-second clip. How long is this? And I say it in a positive way. Not that, oh, my gosh, you have to watch Patrick Wood's, oh, my God, an OmniWar Symposium. Oh, please do it. It's a long one. No, tell us, in the length of it, it's great information. How do they get to it?
I know. You can go to technocracy.news/digital, and that will give you all access to the whole Monty. So it was a 5.5-hour presentation. We had 4 speakers. We had a panel at the end, Q&A, et cetera. And it was kind of epic in that sense. Nobody's ever done this before on an international model. And I'm fortunate to have been associated with these PhDs, no less, from academia to talk about this subject. You know, we're not conspiracy theorists here. These are legitimate academics in their field from these different countries. So my purpose was to raise the bar, if you will, to elevate the discussion of technocracy in the first place.
And let me say this, not to take away from the great story of capitalism, but you're not doing this where it's a pay-per-view type of situation, so that people need to know this is your hard work. I mean, you have a business of your own, technocracy.news. Blessings to you. But just to let the audience know that it's not something that we're going to swipe your credit card or you're not going to swipe it so that you can watch it and then hopefully have a blocker on there for people who didn't pay to see it. But not to harp on that. I mean, time's of the essence here. 1-800-848-9222 goes out to the vast audience of 77 WABC in this particular question. Does any of what we're talking about have any relativistic concern to you in your life? We haven't even talked about transhumanism, because if eventually that's going to have AI helping you and I when we reach a ripe old age, let's say we're fortunate to live into our 90s with good health and good vision and obviously no major diseases, the ability to have immortality. And wasn't it true, Patrick Wood, that at that conclave that they had in communist China with President Xi and Vladimir Putin, wasn't there a discussion? Somebody said that there was a slippage of the tongue. Somebody went out and said, yes, one of our goals is to find the answer to immortality. What, am I making that up or no? I thought I heard that somewhere.
No, you read their lips. That's exactly what they said. And
pretty amazing.
Chairman Xi even made the comment that, well, we can replace organs to achieve life extension, and that set the internet off. For sure, because China has been accused of organ harvesting for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, kind of Chairman Xi kind of alluded to that. Yes. Well, we could get a liver or a kidney, anytime we want to, even a heart or maybe
that's a very
brain,
sad
too.
thing. Right. Again, that's amazing that's turned into such a horrible, business, I gather, across the world. But you would imagine that somehow those dark things do happen out there. But it's interesting to talk about this. And again, I harp on those 3 things that humans want. It also goes back to the tenets of our constitutional republic. And it's written in so many books about the greatness of America and other nations around the world. Let's not just exclude, let's not just say America only, but freedom, prosperity, and peace. And ladies and gentlemen, it sure fits in, right, Patrick, to the concept of freedom. Because if you don't have freedom, how can you have prosperity? And then let's say this way, if all of a sudden AI goes off in a different tangent, not to alarm people, we want peace. But you have to earn that, don't you think, over the course of time? And we never seem to learn from the mistakes that we make as humans. 1-800-848-9222. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the gateway. That is the gateway to get on to this particular radio station, to hear what you have to say about this particular subject and so many other tangential subjects that we can talk about. But, Patrick, before we go to the break in moments, not like in 2 minutes, but just about 5 or 6, let's talk about some of the other things that are hot in the news here. And we go off to your website and we talk about something that's quite interesting. What happened in California with this massive mega solar complex that we can talk about? All the hope of putting all this solar energy. Take it from there, Patrick. I don't want to steal your thunder. What was the purpose of it? Obviously, to generate clean energy. But let's go right now to the location and tell me about it.
Yeah, anybody who traveled between Los Angeles and Las Vegas saw this huge solar plant. There's actually 3 of them in succession, and all these mirrors were focused to a certain point to like a solar generator to produce steam that then drove turbines to produce power. Well, this was billed as the Hoover Dam of solar power when it was first started, and it was supposed to be a big thing. It's going to be it's going to save us from all the evil fossil fuels, that sort of thing. And at this point, the thing has been shut down in disgrace. I have to say that everybody's rejecting it at this point because it's not performing. In other words, it's not economical at all. And everybody that's buying power from it, they said, we can't buy your power anymore. So basically, they're shutting the whole thing down. It's a multi-billion-dollar project down the drain. Thank you, President Obama.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I'm broadcasting here, as many know, from Arizona. You're obviously also in Arizona, but I drive around here. Folks, in your own mind, you drive around and you see, hopefully, some sort of a way to produce cleaner energy, I gather. But according to here, Patrick, there's places here in Arizona, I can't believe it. We're talking about hundreds and maybe thousands of acres that are just the whole thing's planted out there with all these panels. And I'm coming to understand that, tell me if I'm right on measure on this. Many of them are made in China, and some people even said, now I don't want to go conspiracy here, that they also have some way, there was a back door in there that could communicate all data and information back to the motherland. But the point of the matter is, look, you brought it up, I brought it up. It's a very, very interesting concept. We had many guests here on this radio show, and I don't want people to think we're totally, anti-AI, that it can't do anything good. We've had other speakers on here. But from your side, you're like more in the focal point with technocracy.news. It's very interesting to listen to these particular things that are going on in the news. So what's going to happen? Are they going to just dismantle the thing? I mean, who knows? Tell us more. If you haven't said it, I didn't hear you.
You're exactly right. They're going to have to dismantle it, and all of the mirrors that have been installed all over the place. I mean, we're talking thousands of acres of mirrors at this point.
Right.
They're going to replace all the mirrors with solar cells now, and they're going to convert the whole thing to basically a regular solar panel to harvest energy directly. Well,
yes.
This is going to take another probably $1 billion to put that together, but that's the only thing they can do at this point. This whole thing is just kaput at this point.
And I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, particularly yours, but the point is, the problematic thing there was, if I didn't hear it, is that its output could not even support one of the new AI locations, one of the data centers at all. So for all that energy that was supposed to come out, no way in hell did it ever do anything. So thus the ending of that particular story. So do you think that'll send a shockwave across America? I mean, who knows, right? Tell me your thoughts.
I think it will. People in America are fed up with the lies that have been promoted with alternative energy. It's more expensive than anything we could have imagined. Everybody's power bill has gone up because of alternative energy, and it's not performing any way, shape, or form to what they first told us. Okay, so we were sold a bill of goods, basically.
Well, basically this, let's not knock it totally. I mean, there's some value to this. Let's say you're an outdoor camper and you have a small RV.
Oh, yes.
You can use, there is some, truth to this. I don't want to dismember the whole concept. But on a larger scale, we could go nuts and off the charts if we talked about the problematic things of wind power that so many people are saying not only does it just, kind of mark up the desert or the location with these gigantic propellers, animals, of course, are suffering, birds and such. There's many problems. But here we are. We're almost at the bottom of the hour, the hard break, as many know in radio. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't, or if you're in the queue right now, we certainly appreciate you, like Max in Manhattan, Steve in Arizona, Dave in Lockport, Lamar in Manhattan. We'll do our very best, as always, because on this radio show, as I'm sure on others here on this great powerhouse, the callers rule, because that's exactly why we're doing this, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about some of the many mysteries that are not only out in the universe, but also some of the problems, right, Patrick, that perplex us here as humans on planet number 3, where the latest information we hear, right, Patrick, there are some 8 billion souls running around on what Carl Sagan called the pale blue dot, and we still, over the course of history, have not found a way to simply figure out how can we all simply get along. Much more, ladies and gentlemen, with Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news. We, of course, suggest that you go and check out Omniwar, the Symposium Digital Attack on Humanity, with you, ladies and gentlemen, as we move deeper into the darkness of night. And yes, you're with me, Steve Cates, Dr. Sky, on the Dr. Sky Experience. We'll be right back, and we look forward to listening to you.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
An AI walks into a bar and the bartender says, "We don't serve your kind here." The AI replies, "Oh, I'm not here for a drink. I'm here to take your job." As we continue to move into the era of AI, our very special guest, we call him a friend, and he's a regular. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news. He talks with us about some of the things that I think people should be concerned about if you're concerned about the 3 tenets that we talked about that Americans and people around the world should have and want: freedom, prosperity, and peace. Patrick, let's go to the callers right now. Let's say good morning to Max in Manhattan. Max, you're on with Patrick Wood. How are you doing this morning?
Very well. Thank you, Dr. Sky and Patrick. Perhaps we can come to some sort of a mutual definition of transhumanism and technocracy. From what I understand, transhumanism would be, let's say, if wires are coming out of our computer, they'll be inserted up our arm, and somehow we will function or mesh with computers. Wow. Now, if this is done to heal someone who has a broken spine, I'm all for it. But when it comes to computer use and the computer being able to read and understand what we're thinking, that's going a bit too far.
Patrick, wow.
Wow,
this is really interesting.
That's a good point. Let me just clarify here. We're not Luddites where we think all technology is bad. In fact, technology is the boon of mankind to help mankind. However, there's been a class of people who have hijacked technology for their own purposes, basically to subvert humanity. It's an anti-human thing at this point, to subvert humanity into these other systems like transhumanism and technocracy. This is a bastardization of the concept in the first place. So we love technology on one hand. We don't love the people who have hijacked it for their own purposes. This is the problem. But you're absolutely
Max.
right.
Go ahead, Max. This is interesting.
Yes. I mean, I agree. It's like a gun. A gun just sits there on the table, and it's not harmful if it just sits on the table, but it depends who's using it. So similarly with transhumanism, like I said, if it's going to be used in the medical industry to help someone to regain their eyesight or their walking capacity, I'm all for it. But when given that most of us are probably numb to its function and numb to the individuals who are imposing these on us, this can get out of hand. I mean, I can see it very clearly where, one day we'll get on the subway and we'll have to pay our fare, and instead of using a card, we'll just scan the palm of our hand because we'll have a chip inside.
Yeah. And it's about the freedom thing, don't you think, Max? I mean, I talk about these things. Hey, I'm not a scholar. I'm not a candidate for president nor a politician. And I just say simply this. Wouldn't you agree that freedom is the essence of all this, Max? I mean, if we lose that, because of this thing that we're talking about tonight with Patrick Wood and this morning, it's pretty dangerous. What say you finally, Max, on this?
Well, yes, freedom is of course, the main, the focal point, but freedom doesn't mean anything unless, the people see that we're somehow oppressed in some sort of way or that we're denied our freedom. If you just give us our cell phones and we're told we can cross the street without looking up and no car will hit us, we think we have freedom, and that's not.
Well, that's true, Max, and I think a better person than myself said it this way. If you don't know what freedoms and things you have, how are you going to ever know what freedoms you lost? So it's a two-way street. But thank you, Max. Always appreciate your commentary here, and hope you'll continue to be part of our adventure, the Dr. Sky Experience. Let's move forward. Let's go out to our own state, or my own state, I should say more appropriately. Let's welcome another Steve in Arizona. You're on with Patrick Wood. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Thank you, Dr. Sky. I use AI a lot for doing searches and doing research on particular subjects like the stock market or something I don't know about my car. Good grief. It can even design things that decorations or wraps for my car, but because it knows what kind of car I have and all that. But the thing that sort of holds me to a happier future with AI is that, and after hearing these warnings, is that we live in a democracy. And I think a democracy will help us avoid the problems of AI. And I just wonder what your guest thinks about having this free exchange of ideas to fully vet and discuss the benefits and the problems with AI.
Interesting, Patrick. I think he brings up some good subject matter.
Oh, I'd love to have that discussion right here on the Dr. Sky Show. We're doing it right now, right?
Hey, we're here live, my friend, all over. Right.
The problem is these technocrats, these arch technocrats in Washington, D.C., they don't want to come to our table to discuss anything. And they're just imposing their will on humanity without any consent form at all. So, yes, we should have this democratic discussion now before these people clamped out to, basically run freedom out the door. But these technocrats in Washington, D.C., they have no interest in engaging with us to discuss these problems.
No, you're so right. And Steve in Arizona, this is interesting. I mean, wouldn't you say, and I'm asking you, Steve, this, that so many people are so busy, and it's not their fault, maybe, okay? Let's not attack anybody here. You have to do your job. You do it. Obviously, you have family. You have a lot of concerns every day. But isn't it interesting, Steve, maybe I'm a little conspiracy sounding here, that if we'd kind of not pay attention, not just to shows like this one, there's so many other great ones out there, that's what we're trying to do. So obviously, this is interesting. The more and more you hear this particular message, all we're trying to say, right, Steve, is be aware of what's really going on behind the curtain. Your final comment as we move on, Steve.
Yeah, and I think not only do we need to be aware, but we need to make our politicians and the people in government aware of this technology and how it could be beneficial, but also, the dark side of it. And I think we need to have this full discussion. So we need to take the time, despite our busyness, to address this newer subject with our politicians so that we don't lose our freedoms and we don't lose the ability to discuss this important topic.
Well, Steve, maybe you should run for political office because you sound like you know a lot about it and you have a passion. So there you go. That's an option. Don't you think? There you go. Anyway,
I'll take that as a compliment.
Well, thank you, Steve in Arizona. Let's continue. Let's go to far western New York State as we welcome Dave in Lockport. Dave, good morning. You're on with Patrick Wood. We haven't spoken in a while. How are you doing?
No, you know me, Lester Del Rey nerves, Hi, Steve. Hi, Patrick. Yeah, I know. I got a giggle out of you. Hey, look, I'm going to be 75 in another month, and I've been a fan of science fiction my entire life, ever since I could read. And I believe a lot of science fiction is prophetic. Look at 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They predicted a nuclear submarine. Look at The Time Machine. They predicted a nuclear bomb. And my question is, Terminator, the Terminator movies, AI. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. It should be a cautionary tale because it has the potential for such broad abuse.
It sure does. Absolutely. That's the whole point there, Dave. We're trying to bring people's awareness.
You guys are, you're on the mark. But, I don't like that provision in the big, beautiful bill about the states not being able to regulate AI because it opens it for massive abuse.
Absolutely. And again, this is a very important tenet that you're talking about, Dave. Patrick, please, you respond here. And what I'm hearing in the background, I don't know whose side it is. I'm hearing a little chatter in the background. I don't know which side of the equation it's on, but I hope it's not disappointing to our listeners out there. Please continue, Patrick.
Okay, I can't hear a thing here other than you, actually. But you're absolutely right, and the abuse of technology is an issue here. It's not technology itself, but it does seem that the predictive science fiction that has gone before seems to be coming to life today. That's just a reality of it. How that happened, I don't know, but you can see all these books, the movies, and what went before, and you see this stuff happening today. You have to ask the question, what's going on here? But I think we have an opportunity to stop a lot of this stuff if Americans would get on board to, raise their voice like you're doing right now.
Well, thank you, Dave. I mean, I appreciate your call here. Go ahead. You get the last word here. We're almost up against the break.
I just believe that we should be very cautious about the potential for abuse and maybe put the brakes on a little bit.
There you go. Thank you, Dave in Lockport. Hope you have a great weekend, like everybody else listening, whether it's evening, morning, or wherever you're listening to us around the world. You are listening to the Dr. Sky Experience. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your participation. And, this is interesting, Patrick. Technocracy.news. Just give us in about a minute or two before that break just what people are going to find there. So, obviously, an encouragement to read many of the articles that you post almost, daily?
Oh, yes, exactly. I've been doing this for so many years now, I've lost track. But I do have over 6,600 articles posted on Technocracy News over the years. They're all indexed, they're categorized, and it's a research trove if you want to dig into something. And all articles at this point are open to the public for 5 days. Once they're posted, you can read anything you want, download the article, print it out. I don't care. You can listen to it if you want to. There's a play button at the top of the article. And so there's no excuse for not consuming it. But my hope is that people will go here and get in the stream of the knowledge that I've been putting out here for almost 10 years now.
Yes, well said. And also a big promotion here for Omniwar, the Symposium Digital Attack on Humanity. I promised the audience and myself and you, of course, that I'll go ahead and look at it. The length of that is what? Am I correct? At about a couple of hours? Is that right?
Oh, my. It was 5.5 hours.
Wow. So I have to take a day off. And then there you go. No, well worth it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're up against the break here. But again, 1-800-848-9222 gets you into the pipeline so you can be heard here on Talk Radio 77 WABC with your opinion. Callers rule, as we like to say, and we sincerely mean it. We appreciate everybody out there who participates, not only in this show, but all the other great shows that a great host here on this station provide us as we dig deeper on the Dr. Sky Experience into many mysteries of the universe with obvious conversation about American exceptionalism. And we're talking with Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
An AI walks into a bar and asks the bartender, "Do you serve humans here?" The bartender, puzzled, replies, "Well, yes, of course." And the AI responds, "Great. I'll have one less competitor." As we continue to talk about the era of AI, A little lighthearted conversation is always what the doctor ordered. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue here at 47 minutes after the hour. Patrick Wood is our guest, technocracy.news. Let's welcome Cyrus in Staten Island to the conversation. Good morning, Cyrus. How are you doing?
Good morning, Cyrus. Okay. Yeah, your host was absolutely correct. Any technology in the hands of the wrong people, the bad guys, that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
It's just like when they say money is the root of all evil. It's never been the root of all evil. Human beings are the only thing that's the root of all evil. There are good billionaires. There are evil billionaires. We see it with Mr. Katzimasidis. And I want to thank this station because you're the only radio station I've heard that's been discussing these things.
Well, Cyrus, I appreciate you. I appreciate
so easy
you.
to lie to uneducated people.
But let me mention something. I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Katzimatidis for giving me this opportunity to sit behind this microphone, and Chad Lopez of the executive staff. Because let me say this, ladies and gentlemen, as we always talk, or they, I should say more correctly, 24/7 about truth, justice, and the American way. We're in difficult times, but not to be negative. We just want to make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that good words get out, in our opinion. Anything else you'd like to say, Cyrus? I think you've said a lot there, and we'll get Patrick to respond.
Also with the solar energy. Every day, the Earth is bathed with energy. And if we were blanketed with solar panels, it would never run cities, but it would subsidize energy. It would help subsidize things. And when they want to put these windmills up, why would you put them out in the ocean and then transfer that all the way back to land into these big storage batteries when you can just put the windmill on the land? We have a huge area out. It used to be a dump on Staten Island. Mm-hmm. Simply put them there. It keeps those dangerous batteries away from neighborhoods, and it does. You don't have to transfer the energy so far.
Yeah, I know.
It just makes sense.
It's been controversial, as you know, Cyrus, with the whole windmill subject matter. But let's get Patrick in on the conversation because the two of you, I'm the listener now. And Patrick, your response here to Cyrus, he brings up some interesting points.
Wow, that's a great point. This whole business with the windmills and the sea especially is that it produces harmonic hums that screw with the fish. And you'll find that the ecosystem around those towers is basically destroyed when they're installed. And, of course, they do wear out eventually. They have to have service. They have to have the blades replaced, and they all have to be, monitored for the energy output. So it's not a zero-sum game here. Everything that's put into the environment to generate energy, it doesn't matter whether it's windmills or solar panels, all of these things come with a cost that can't really be measured in just pure dollars.
No, you're right, Patrick.
So,
it's amazing.
Windmills.
Yeah, and I want to add something, Cyrus, if you're still with us. Yeah, let me add something, Cyrus. The beautiful cetaceans, meaning whales that are out in the ocean, we know that they communicate. I'm not a biologist to know much more of that other than what I'm about to say here. They have so many amazing ways to communicate with the different clicks in their own communication, and Patrick's right. That has a definite disturbance factor. Yeah, absolutely. So there's many reasons to say that could be a problem, but your point was bringing it closer, not have to transmit all the energy from way out in the middle of the ocean somewhere or offshore. Correct, Cyrus?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and speak about animals. Mr. Katzimasidis also exposed that Canada is trying to kill these ostriches that have an enzyme in them that may help us against disease. And it seems to me Big Pharma doesn't want that out. So when you talk about technocracy and wanting to control people, why would you not want us to experiment and see if they have antibodies we could use? instead of
Well,
murder.
Cyrus, I appreciate your commentary about talking about things that maybe other places are not talking about, and we'll continue to do that. But let me thank you, and hope you have a beautiful weekend here as you're listening to this most amazing radio station. I grew up at this station, Cyrus, like many people, living in Jamaica, Queens, and that's where I was born, not to go into too much of my story, and lived along the Rockaway Beach area. And still, even though I'm out here, my heart still is with the people in the New York area. So thank you, Cyrus, for being part of the show. I appreciate you. Patrick, lots of things to discuss here, and let's see if we can get one more caller in before the top of the hour, and we'll continue in hour number 2 with Patrick Wood. Let's say good morning to Lamar in Manhattan. Good morning. How you doing, Lamar? How's it going?
Good morning, gentlemen. We were compelled to call. We have a question for the author. President Trump's commitment to our nation's sovereignty and greatness are undeniable. How does the provision that the author made reference to in the big, beautiful bill concerning, I suppose we would call it, a laissez-faire approach to AI complement the president's vision for our nation's greatness and sovereignty?
That's interesting. Patrick, wow, Lamar, you say it so well. It sounds, Lamar, I listened to you on this station, and boy, I salute you, my brother. It sounds like you could be the guy behind the microphone yourself, and that's a compliment.
Well, I'll tell you what, sir, if you keep it talking the way you're talking, I'm not going to be able to get my Stetson on because my head's going to get too big. Yes, sir.
Well, let's go to Patrick here. Lamar, no, seriously, you bring up some good points, and boy, I could just listen to you, Lamar, as if I'm standing at the Capitol and you're giving this presentation, and I'm saying to myself, raise that flag and let's all do the Pledge of Allegiance there with Lamar. God bless you, brother. But Patrick, your response there, Lamar, this is interesting.
Well, he does make up some good points. The big beautiful bill was intended to be just that, I'm sure, to make America great again. However, there were things that got slipped into it that are opposite of that concept, especially when you consider that they wanted to trick the states into not regulating AI. This tramples on states' rights. And whatever else you can say about anything in Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. does not have the right to trample on the states of the United States. That's off limits. They should not be doing that. So this was one of our first objections that came up when we saw the text of the big, beautiful bill. And whoever put that clause in didn't understand the Constitution in the first place, because you can't say that. You could not possibly say it. It got reformed when it went to the Senate, by the way, and there it was reformed to make it a budget item where the states would not receive any money if they did choose to regulate AI. That's a punishment now, not just
interesting,
flat out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick, now we go to Lamar for a closing comment. Lamar, you have the floor.
Well, all I can say is this, gentlemen, there are more questions than answers, but one thing is undeniable. President Donald John Trump is the greatest man alive in the world today. We live in a country that was once famous for breeding giants. When we look around the political landscape today, all we see are eunuchs and quislings. There's only one giant left, and that's Donald John Trump. God bless America, and God bless President Trump.
Wow. Lamar, wow. We should have Lamar on more times. Lamar, I couldn't agree more. God bless you, and I hope you'll be part of our show, because I'm sure we'll have more listeners by hearing the things that you're talking about American exceptionalism, truth, justice, and the American way. Thank you, Lamar. Have a good weekend. Well, that's amazing, Patrick. Didn't he sound? He sounds great. I like that, man.
Exactly. Yeah, he has a definitive opinion for sure. I like that.
Right.
I like that.
And he has the voice. Like I said, I could just imagine standing outside of a Capitol building, and we're here for a special event, and Lamar comes on, and he starts to give that great voiced presentation, and he's so powerful, and he's so, of course, right on with America, and that's, wow, we just love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hour number 1 goes into the time and space continuum. More with our special guest, Patrick Wood, and you, ladies and gentlemen, at 1-800-848-9222. A little look-see we always promise on this radio show, since it's obviously talking about these great realms in the heavens, too. We always provide a brief but informative, as you tell us, sky update, so we can learn so much more about the wonders of the universe. But then our feet get planted permanently and, well, I should say positively, back here on planet number 3 to talk about these subject matters. Does AI concern you? If it does, let us know why. If it doesn't, give us the other side of the equation. But ladies and gentlemen, we like it. At 1-800-848-9222, we talk about the 4 types of conversation: debate, discourse, diatribe, and dialogue. We love dialogue with also critical thinking. So Patrick, again, your website, technocracy.news. And again, let's get people to go out there and take a look at this rather lengthy but super informative presentation on the whole fear factor. No, the whole concerns about AI and technocracy, Omnivore Symposium, the digital attack on humanity. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Dr. Sky Experience, your questions and comments, always write that number down if it hasn't been put into your smartphone, 1-800-848-9222. Patrick, always appreciate you, and this is pretty powerful stuff that we're talking about here, and I know you have a whole bunch of things to talk about from the news area from technocracy.news. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 of the Dr. Sky Experience will continue on the other side of these announcements.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
4 minutes after the hour, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Dr. Sky Experience as we move into hour number 2. Wishing you the best for your weekend of health, happiness, and prosperity. Our special guest, if you're just joining us right now for this particular hour and this iteration of the Dr. Sky Experience, author Patrick Wood of technocracy.news, talking with you, ladies and gentlemen, not at you, about the subject matter of AI, technocracy, and the subject, a deep one, of transhumanism. Many people believe that there should be some controls on AI, to put it lightly. Many people out there have their opinions, and that's why we're here at 1-800-848-9222 to take your questions, hopefully in the form of a dialogue, and we just love the concept of critical thinking. You know, I mentioned before, what humans want and should expect is freedom, prosperity, and peace. And let's put it this way, there are many opposites to freedom. Some could be calling it simply restriction or imprisonment. Opposite of prosperity could be simply this, among others, destitution. And the opposite of peace could be what? Chaos and turmoil and war. Patrick, thanks for joining us again in hour number 2 here. I find it fascinating. There's so many news topics that you have. Let's bring one to the table and bring from Technocracy News that people need to hear about, that I think are of concern, not to be conspiratorial or sensationalist. Please carry the torch, and let's continue with what you think is important about this subject.
Well, there's so many things in the news right now. Some are lighthearted, some are not, for sure. Okay. Like Bill Gates, for instance, you can't say God bless him, but he's put so much stuff on society. He's messed around with education, with the mRNA shots, that sort of thing. Now he's talking about making a new type of butter. We're calling it Frankenbutter, by the way.
Butter? You mean like butter that you put on
butter,
bread?
Yeah, Franken. Well, he's figured out a way how to get rid of the CO2 in the atmosphere by making butter out of it. And this is crazy stuff, right?
Wait a second. I have to stop you, Patrick. Wait a minute. First of all, is it margarine or is it pure butter? And then you're talking about doing what? Making it out of carbon dioxide.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I know it's crazy. It's crazy as it sounds. I don't have a clue what it's going to do to you if you eat it. But he thinks now, in all these people, they wanted to get rid of CO2 in the first place. This is the anti-human part of technocracy for sure. You can't do that. CO2 is necessary for life. And so they've been trying to figure out ways to get rid of the CO2 in the atmosphere. What Bill Gates has surfaced now, this new thing, we can get rid of the cows now. Forget the cows. They don't need to produce milk. He can do it all now synthetically using CO2 from the atmosphere. Just go figure.
I mean, what do these guys have to do all day? I mean, that I couldn't even have come up with that if I even was trying to be funny. I mean, butter from that? I mean, why not pick on some other things? Why not orange juice or, any other thing? I don't get it.
I know. I'm sure you will remember the ad from 1977 about Mother Nature, where chiffon, the margin was introduced to the world, and the ads that came out on that really were funny to a degree.
Yes,
it's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
Exactly. Well, maybe we're being fooled right now. I never heard of anything so ridiculous. And again, you're obviously a journalist, so there's nothing doubt about the way you're expressing it. And I don't doubt you, but I'm saying butter made from carbon dioxide. Wow, that's an interesting concept. Let me go down the path of some things that really, in my opinion, from what I'm reading with you and from your website, technocracy.news. How about this? Talk about this concept of geofencing through digital control. This is really scary stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, talking about carbon dioxide and butter, talk about geofencing.
Wow. This is a concept that the police have adopted in many, many communities across the country. The concept is your phone is a beacon for you, for your location. Mm-hmm. And when a crime is committed, say in a house or something, somebody gets shot, and then the police are investigating who did it, and why, and that sort of thing. They're looking for suspects at that point, right?
Yes.
Well, they have the ability to monitor your cell phone location at the time of the crime, right?
Yes.
So geofencing kind of gives them a lead of suspects to investigate, and that could be you. If you just inadvertently happen to be walking along, or you're driving along, and you didn't even know that there was a crime committed in the first place, you could be wrapped into the investigation as a suspect because of this geofencing concept.
Yeah. That's amazing. And again, looking at it even a bigger perspective, let's say that there's a future where we're talking about certain people having a curfew put on them. And I'm talking about the, in quote, innocent civilians that, no, you can't go out. So if you went beyond this barrier, which you can't see physically, maybe there's no sign, you then could be hauled away, or who knows, but saying our phone or your phone detected that you were out of the perimeter. That's pretty spooky stuff, right? And maybe I make a lightness of it. You could probably do much more detail and talk about the nefarious side of geofencing.
Well, this is just wrong. It's wrong to involve innocent citizens in any investigation like that. It's just not American at all.
No, there's many things here. And again, I look at the communist Chinese, the way they operate over there, and I have many Chinese friends that, of course, lived under communism, and they talk about how appreciative they are, simply with no further discussion, about being here in the United States and other countries that have some freedoms. But there, what do, Patrick Wood? They have surveillance everywhere, and we seemingly have it too. So if anybody calls in and says, well, wait a minute, Steve, we have surveillance all over the place too. But they do it in a whole different way, don't they? Talk about social credit scores and the ability to surveil everybody under the watchful thumb and a thumbprint of President Xi and the Communist Chinese Party.
Well, that's exactly right. They have the same technology that we have. We have lots of cameras. You see them on the street corners all over the place and other places, right? They have the same technology and AI as well, but they're using it in a more dystopian way in China with this social credit scoring system, where if you say something bad about the communist state or a leader or whatever, you're going to be penalized on the spot almost for your discretion or lack of discretion. And so you're going to have fines levied against you. Maybe you're going to have privileges. All of a sudden, you can't do certain things anymore, like ride the high-speed transit or get an apartment in the nicer part of town, that sort of thing. And this is controlling the people with this dystopian idea that their behavior should be what either gives them the privileges or takes them away. This is totally dystopian.
No, it's interesting. And I promised the audience our Sky Report, which we always do. We'll do that in just a moment to give everybody some positivity. And again, you are, Patrick, giving us an alert and awareness from technocracy.news. Let's go to the phone lines again. Those that have been waiting, let's say good morning to Alexi in Queens. Good morning, Alexi. I appreciate you and your comment to Patrick Wood or question.
Yes, I have commentary, brief. Look, I don't know if you gentlemen realize that 87% of the world is run by psychopathic people. Mm-hmm. These people like Putin and Xi and the others. Yes. It's incredible. Billions of people run around like mice in a huge cage. Mm-hmm. My point is they want the crown achievement in their lifetime will be to conquer America, to destroy the United States. Europe is nothing to them. They want the United States. So they pump billions upon billions of dollars onto the Democrat Party. And these people like Gates, he has a procession of 100,000 people behind him who brown-nose him so intensely that he throws money at them and says, see, I thank you for your compliments about my way of thinking. And they actualize the ideas, these bizarre ideas of phony butter and other things. But what I don't understand is it's so evident that this country is on the road to ruin. Why are the people, not so much the Republicans, but the people, the hardcore people of this country, where are they? They don't do anything.
Well, you're right, Alexi. Hey, Alexi, I believe you, my brother. Everything you're telling me, that's why we're doing programs like this, to alert, not alarm. There's a big difference. Alert, not alarm people into understanding what's maybe going on, right, Patrick, behind the curtain, and not to sound conspiratorial. So that's exactly what we're talking about here. Patrick, Alexi's a regular caller here, and I do appreciate you, Alexi. You bring up some good points, but Patrick, you got the floor. You're our guest. Respond back to Alexi. If
I expect maybe that Alexi is from a former communist nation, possibly. Is that possible?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I've asked him, and he's said politely, as we respect, he doesn't want to reveal that, and I respect that.
No,
but you're
fine.
probably
that's
right.
Fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go
listen,
ahead.
I want to speak to the other listeners on the air right now. Listen to this person who has first-hand experience with this dystopian, autocratic government that's designed to oppress freedom everywhere. This is what we're dealing with right now. People like Alexi, they're crying out. I hear from people all the time, like you. At least once a week, I get an email from somebody that's lived under communism or another country, and maybe in the Mideast or something, and they're saying, "We need to stop this. We can't. We're crying out to you, people in America,
yes.
And maybe we need a platform for all these people like this who could just say, guys, this is what's going on. Stop it now before it gets a hold of you, because once it does, you can't stop it."
Exactly. It's like something biting you and the jaws are clamped on your arm, and not to get graphic, or wherever else on your body. Ouch. This is interesting. Yeah. Alexa, you got the last word. You know, they're firing up the big phone line here, and it's everybody's calling in, which is a great thing. Alexi, your last closing comment. Always appreciate you.
Yes, I am from communist country. as I told Dr. Sky, I told the reason why I am on what they call a death warrant, DEATH.
Yes, sir.
Because I tried to organize people to think. I sat down and explained what is democracy, what is an American thinking process, and these people, they inform on me, and I was warned 2 times, if I get this, I am going to disappear. One night, I left my home, I left my family, everything. I went like the homeless.
Yes, I hear you, Alexei.
I walk day and night through 2 countries to get out. I had to go through 2 countries to get out of there. I cannot believe. This is incredible. This is going to happen here.
Let's hope it doesn't, Alexei. But your clarion call to let us know this is well taken, because you understand, like many people who might not that I'm the judge of this. Everybody out there can have an opinion. But I think, sir, you understand the concept of freedom, prosperity, and peace. Alexei, thank you for being part of the show. I just want to say good morning to you, and thank you so much. Let's continue with the callers. I promised a little bit of a Sky update. We will get to that, because everybody tells me they want to hear about what they can see in the positivity of the wonders of the heavens. But before we do that, let's say good morning to Tony. She's in New Jersey. Good morning, Tony. Thank you for calling. How are you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen. I have to tell you, Dr. Sky, that I love Alexei. He is just so inspiring, and he knows more about our country than most of our neighbors do. And I could listen to him forever. He's amazing.
Absolutely.
So tonight I wanted to tell you guys that one of my favorite movies is an old movie that was on tonight. It was called Soylent Green. And in the movie, it's New York in 2020-ish. And what amazed me is that, of course, the Soylent Green was this drink, and it was made up of people. And just this week, I want your thoughts. I read that in my state, New Jersey, Governor Murphy is allowing the human decomposition for going toward plant life, and this is one of his new ideas, because it gives families new perspectives, so it could go into the ground for vegetables and etc. I just thought this was so, so woke and so offensive, but who am I? And yet, when I saw Soylent Green, I'm like, gee, that movie was right on target. It's only a few years off, and that's what we're doing.
You're so right, Tony. And I watched it in high school. It came out, of course, in April of 1973, and I was part of a student at a place called Paramus Catholic High School. And obviously, who would not want to watch a movie like that? But the main thought that you're bringing out here, the main premise about what can happen in the future, the great actor Charlton Heston, even Chuck Connors is in that. And what an amazing testimonial to see what can happen in the future when there's what, Tony? Overt control over the population, and that's not good. Patrick, she brings up good stuff. I like what Tony's talking about.
I like this woman. She's connected the dot here for us, and I leave it stand.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Exactly.
Tony, obviously. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Not to mention, with the new election coming up, New York City will be just like New York in Soylent Green. That's another Halloween kind of thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bring up the obvious, Tony. That's a critical election. Even if I'm out here in Arizona, ladies and gentlemen, our eyes and our eyeballs and other parts are focused on this whole thing. But the voters have the choice out there. But we certainly don't want to see it go the way many people are thinking of what could happen. Wouldn't that be horrible, Tony? A Soylent Green, New York. I don't think people want that. So, they got to get out there and vote and do it the right way and put the people in that believe in freedom, prosperity, and peace. Tony, thank you. Appreciate your contribution to the radio show.
Have a great night, guys. Good weekend.
Thank you so much for calling. Well, let's give a little Sky update here. I tell this to everybody because that was the main tenet, and it is, of how the radio show has begun, talking about what you can see. Here's something interesting, folks, in the positivity side. And we never like to talk about, negatives and conspiracies. Don't forget, on Tuesday evening, when you look, of course, to the setting sun, you'll be seeing something very magnificent in the sky. The annual harvest moon will take place on October 6th. And for our New York listeners, of course, if you're all listening all over the country, just convert your times by checking moonrise and sunset. But for the New York audience, the home of course, Talk Radio 77 WABC, we'll find the sun setting at 6:29 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And then the moon will be rising at 6:08, so it'll be in the sky before the sun goes down, and thus the namesake harvest moon, the moon that's closest to the autumnal equinox, which we had in September on the 22nd, one of the most beautiful moons, and in days gone by, and those were days really far back, they had great, beautiful harvest moon balls, women dressed in beautiful couture, gentlemen dressed to the nines in tuxedos, and bands played, and they celebrated this most amazing night in the heavens, and that is the harvest moon coming to a neighborhood near you all across the listening area. So no matter where you're listening, that moon will be in the sky at about the same time that the sun sets, and in some areas before. Isn't that interesting, Patrick, as we diverge and go away from the main topic only for a moment, for a little bit of what? Peace and harmony in the heavens.
Exactly. So that's a nice thing to go outside and check it out.
Absolutely. Let's continue with our callers here. Let's say good morning to Brian in Valley Stream. You're on with Patrick Wood. How you doing this early morning? Oh, I guess we had lost Brian. Let's say good morning to Frank in New Jersey. Good morning, Frank. How are you this morning?
Hey, good morning. How are you? Listen, forget about the border with the CO2. The chemtrails that I see on sunny sky. I live in northern Jersey. When I look over New York City, the whole sky is full of haze, and you see the plane back and forth. What's going on? Nobody talks about this.
Well, it's interesting. You're right. And on the conspiracy side, again, I'm not the expert in atmospheric optics, but I can tell you this much. We see them here all over the country, right, Patrick? We see them in Arizona. Mm-hmm. But most contention is about what they are. I know a lot of people don't believe this, is that it's simply water vapor that's, changing from the temperatures of jet engines at altitude, and that does happen. And the conspiracy side says that there's some intentional influx of pouring in, contaminants and other things. Patrick, you've heard about this, and maybe you're better at talking about what have you heard or discovered about these chemtrails, so that we can talk with Frank about it and be right on measure. Well, what can you bet.
I've studied these so-called chemtrails pretty extensively, and yes, they are a thing. No, it's not contrails in the sense of being, steam. Mm-hmm. And they are actually spraying stuff into the atmosphere. We don't know exactly what it is all the time, but we know some of the chemicals that have been put into the atmosphere. The basic concept is to block the sun. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the overall overarching concept here. We really don't want to do that, by the way. We would leave the sun alone. We need the sun for plant growth and health of the human population. Dimming the sun in any way is just a stupid idea.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Right, I'll agree with you, Patrick, on that. But again, I don't believe, and I've talked to so many pilots and other programs I've done where we've interviewed so many people. But let's put it this way, Frank. You're the one who's calling about this. Are we giving you any hope that there's an answer to this that we're giving you? Or are you still confused by what we're talking about here? Tell me.
No, I'm not. I am not confused. I can see those trails getting bigger and bigger.
Oh, I believe you, yeah.
And bigger. And when you see New York City from where I live, it's a completely haze. The whole horizon is haze.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
There has to be a reason. Why over New York City? Why?
Well, you know what we ought to do here, gentlemen. What we ought to do, and I'm going to throw this back to Patrick. Patrick, let's see if we can get you. Okay, why? I just gave Patrick an assignment. Let's see if we can get you to dig into this a little deeper, because this is something, and I'm sure everybody on technocracy.news wants to know. But most important right now is Frank's concerns. Hey, Frank, I believe you, my friend. I see this all the time too, but studying this as best as I can, people tell me that it's just the vapor from water vapor from high atmosphere.
No,
from
water
jet
vapor. Water vapor usually dissipate after a while.
Okay.
No, they dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
But not this. This stays and becomes like a haze. Borium, aluminum. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
No. Hey, let me explain it, Frank, again. I believe everything you're saying. It's just that I don't know, and that's why I'm passing this on to Patrick, because I'll tell you why. He's talking about all these things in great detail. So all I can tell you, Frank, is we're going to investigate this when we have Patrick back, and, well, hopefully Patrick will accept the assignment. Patrick, do you accept the assignment?
Well, absolutely. And I know I have a number of articles on technocracy.news already about chemtrails and geoengineering. Lots of information there. Check it out. Go search for the word chemtrail. I just did it myself, and a bunch of articles just show up immediately.
Frank, I got to thank you. Time is limited here as we go to the hard break in just a moment here. But let me say this, Frank. No, seriously, I believe you 100%. We're going to try to get answers to it. So stay tuned with us as we continue when we have Patrick back. I asked Patrick if he can be available on a monthly basis, or if you gentlemen want to communicate privately, you could send him an email and he could send you the stuff so you don't have to wait for an answer. How's that, Patrick? You can do that too. There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, what would be an email for you, Patrick, for anybody out there that wants to get in touch with you?
Go to technocracy.news and simply fill out the contact form, and I'll receive it, and then I'll email you back.
That sounds good. Frank in New Jersey. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate your participation, my friend, because you can't see the good skies and the beautiful things we're talking about if the darn sky is filled with smoke, haze, and all kinds of stuff allegedly coming from aircraft. Frank in New Jersey, thanks for being part of the Dr. Sky experience. We appreciate you. And ladies and gentlemen, we reach part of hour number 2, the hard break in radio. When we come back, more on this particular series of topics at technocracy.news with Patrick Wood. We're going to get into some of the other subject matters about AI, and also maybe we'll digress into some of the things of transhumanism that you should know to connect the dots. Here on the Dr. Sky Experience, 1-800-848-9222. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. A quote from the great Albert Einstein. Isn't that interesting, Patrick, at 32 minutes after the hour, that Albert Einstein even looked on and reflected on the subject of artificial intelligence? I find that to be most incredible. That is amazing. And ladies and gentlemen, you heard a little promo there for a gentleman, a good friend of ours, Dr. David Tholen, who talks about the discovery, he's a co-discoverer with the asteroid Apophis. And not to alarm people, as we're talking about things pro and con with AI and transhumanism, or whatever you'd like, just remember that on April the 13th, 2029, the 1,000-foot in diameter asteroid Apophis will come within 22,000 miles of the Earth's surface, and that's well within the range of the geosynchronous satellites. And boy, are we going to be talking about that in many future shows. Patrick, let's continue on because we've got so much to talk about here and so many different people that are probably hanging on the line right now. Let's say good morning to Nick in Virginia. Your patience is appreciated. You're on with Patrick Wood. How you doing?
Thank you, Dr. Sky, for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about so many things. I might lose my focus.
Okay.
But, I think the most dangerous thing about AI is what it's doing to our children. Our children are already. You're talking about transhuman connections. They're already connected to these little electric devices they hold in their hands.
Yes.
And I see, I live in a very affluent neighborhood, and I see these little phones controlling people. I see women walking around, and they all have a phone in their left hand, and it's like it's controlling them. And they're constantly looking at it as if it's the most important thing in their lives. And I think that's what's happening with our youth. That we're depending too much on AI and computers and electronic devices. Just a few short years ago, kids were all riding actual bicycles and getting exercise. And now everybody has an e-bike and a little motor, an electric motor. And so, excuse the pun, but we're being assaulted here in America by batteries.
Yeah, everywhere you go. And look what happens, some of these batteries, when they're not properly charged, or even if you do it right, subject to what? Restrictions because of fire? Look how many of these phones. I've seen a friend's phone. This is amazing, Nick. Maybe you've seen it. A friend's phone was sitting there. We were having dinner, and all of a sudden the phone was hot, like you put it in a furnace. And what happened was it didn't go on fire, but we've had other stories of those things, turning into a big flaming ball. Kind of weird. But, Patrick, this is interesting what Nick is talking about. You have a whole subject matter. Nick, stay tuned to this because Patrick has a whole big thing about the nefarious effects on children with the whole subject of AI.
Absolutely. I love children myself. I have lots of grandchildren. I just love children in general. And unfortunately, because they're the weaker people in society, they're always the first to get abused. And what's happening with AI at this point, especially with companion apps that are being proliferated all over the place, all over the tech landscape at this point, these companion apps based on AI are luring children into a relationship that alienates them from their parents, from society. And we find now that actually children are being tricked into harmful activity, like even including suicide.
Oh my God!
These tech companies could stop that in a heartbeat if they wanted to, but they obviously they don't want to, or they would stop it. This is egregious. This is just totally over the top to make children pay for whatever their sins, whatever it is, however you can say it. It's just absolutely wrong that children are the first to be harmed by AI. And this is happening all over the world right now.
Well, Nick, you brought up a very powerful subject here, and you get the closing comment on this because it's very important. You're right. I mean, I don't have children myself, but wow, I see it everywhere. It's like a mirror image of what you're talking about, even out here. So please continue.
Well, our education system is failing us all in every state in the country. Every country is crawling ahead of us, or not even crawling, they're zooming ahead of us in their education, their people being educated, and we're losing out. And our children are going to either help us or destroy us. And right now, I don't see them helping us.
Wow. I appreciate your commentary, Nick. I hope you'll be part of the future shows of the Dr. Sky Experience, and wishing you and your family a beautiful weekend. As we talk now, ladies and gentlemen, with other callers here around the nation and around even local to the home of 77 WABC, let's say good morning to Fred in Manhattan. Hi, Fred. How you doing? You're on with Patrick.
Hello. This is a little off subject, but if you would do me a favor, and maybe everyone else a favor along with it, would you ask Alexei, if he ever calls again, I doubt he will, to say a sentence or two that you provide to him, because his accent sounds so phony to me. It's laughable.
Okay.
I think he's a total fraud.
Well, no, you bring up, look, Fred, I respect what you're saying here, and the main concern you have is what? You're saying that you don't believe that the guy's legit, right, from what he's saying, as far as his accent and everything else. I don't know how to really approach that other than, I don't like to get controversial here on the air because, I don't know, I like to try to be a little different host on this, but it's not out of subject. I mean, I don't know. I think he makes sense. What do you think, Patrick? I mean, not to gang up on Fred in Manhattan, but I think every time he calls, he asks questions and he won't tell me where he's from. I respect that. I wouldn't want to, if he tells me he's got people after him for maybe death threats, I have to respect that. What do you say, Patrick? Go ahead.
often people from communist countries have family that remain in those countries who could be threatened. I understand that. This is very common. As far as accent, is it a real deal? I don't know. It sounds like it is on the surface of it. Obviously, you could have a different opinion. That's what makes life go around, right? So,
yes. Well, let me give Fred the opportunity. If you have a question that you want to ask or a concern about the subject matter that we have, please continue, because we give you an opportunity, just like we gave Alexi, if you choose to do that. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think that to my ear, I'm hearing a phony accent, and I think it's important to understand what you're hearing and who you're hearing it from. I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with the content of what he's saying. That's not the point.
All right.
The point is he's attempting to portray a point of view that has a basis in a foreign from a foreign entity, so to speak.
Well, let me say this. I hate to cut you down on this and stop you, Fred, but let me say this. That means every single person that a person like yourself might think has a phony accent. I get it. I mean, I certainly will, as long as the person's not using profanity or screaming and yelling, I'm going to give everybody at least a chance, because here's my final comment on this, Fred. I respect what you're saying, but the truth of the matter is, if I did that to everybody who called and started to go and say, hey, I think you have a phony accent, I get what you're trying to say. But if they were talking about subject matters, their opinion, they sounded pretty logical about their questions and comments, I'll leave it at that, Fred, and I'll wish you a good morning. But I appreciate your linguistic skills that are probably better than mine. So thanks for being part of this show. I appreciate you, sir. Let's say good morning to Mike in Newburgh. Mike, you're on with Patrick Wood on Technocracy and Technocracy.news. How you doing?
Hi, good morning, Patrick and Dr. Sky. I'd like to talk about the human decomposition that Governor Murphy's doing. This is nothing new. I mean, they cremate people, they bury at sea, and even you can go back as far as the Indians telling the Pilgrims to put a fish under each plant. And what would be more beautiful than to plant a tree and put your loved one's remains right in the hole of the tree? And as that grew, it would be actually the carbon from your loved one in that tree that might stay around for 200 years.
Okay.
And also,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Also, with the chemtrails, the gentleman was saying it's all over New York City. Well, of course it is. There's 1,000 planes going in and out of New York City every day.
Absolutely. High air traffic.
And, yeah. And one thing, commercial planes are not going to carry not 1 ounce of extra weight. You have to pay $50 for a small bag. And to put these chemicals would be thousands of pounds. No commercial airline is ever going to pay for that.
I got to agree with you, Mike. It's simple common sense. We all fly. The airplanes are packed. Where do they have the person in the back with the big hose and the big gas tank or the big spray can? Yeah. I agree with you. So then it begs this
shampoo on.
Well, there you go, Mike. But then it begs this question: if it's not the commercial airliners, which we don't think they are, then are the military airplanes doing this? And that's another story, because here's the deal. You look on Flight Track Radar 24, and you can see basically even a lot of military planes do have their transponder on. I track them all the time. Yeah, some could turn it off, but you're going to have a hell of a lot of military airplanes to do what they were talking about, to cover the sky in all these different chemicals. That's why I think it's not somebody doing something. But again, we gave Patrick Wood the assignment. So, Mike, appreciate your commentary to set us straight. Thank you for calling.
So much.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I guess we lost him. But anyway, Patrick, no, I mean, that homework assignment, I very conveniently gave it over to you, and you kindly accepted the challenge. So let's find out.
I will.
But Mike brings up some very interesting points. commercial airlines. Can you imagine if you're flying on X airline, we don't name them, and all of a sudden in the back you see somebody by the bathroom in the back lavatory. Wait a minute, you can't use the bathroom because we're going to unload some chemicals on the people down below. Well, what is that? Well, sit in your seat, leave me alone. It's bug killer. No, it's not. Well, that's amazing stuff. But when we come back, we're coming up to the final break of the 2 hours. And here we go, Patrick. We'll talk more about you and maybe stay on measure here. That's my fault, not yours. With subject matter here about technocracy.news, AI, and transhumanism when we come back here, ladies and gentlemen, on the Dr. Sky Experience.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Predicting the future isn't magic. It's artificial intelligence. And a great quote like that, believe it or not, from Unknown. 48 minutes after the hour, we continue with Patrick Wood at the top of the hour. Patrick, this is fascinating, the stuff that you're talking about here at technocracy.news. Excuse me. I'm interested to hear some of the other headlines that you have that are, I think, of importance to this listening audience about be aware, be alert, and try to maintain freedom, prosperity, and peace, what humans want. But, well, hopefully we'll be able to continue with the big one called freedom.
Well, indeed. Every day I post at least one article on technocracy.news. I do a kind of a triage process where I pick something that represents the heartbeat of technocracy. Obviously, I'm against technocracy, but I want to pick articles to inform my readers about what's going on around the world. So every day, it's always kind of all over the map because technocracy is now infecting all of society, all of our lives. We see it all over the place now. At least I do. And when you get plugged in at technocracy.news, you'll see it also. So that's my intent, is to be a well-rounded source for technocracy. And I have to say, Steve, Technocracy News is the only website on the internet that focuses exclusively on technocracy. You're right.
Oh, it's interesting. You've done
crazy.
Some great things there so that people can go there. But in the limited time that we have here, here's one that I think will really alert so many people listening across the airwaves here. Talk about the whole universal basic income trap. This is interesting because many people are pledging universal income. They're talking about free this and free that. Tie it into the whole technocracy thing. And what do we mean by the universal basic income trap?
This was a construct that was created in 1932 when technocracy was first invented, if you will, at Columbia University. They said basically they were going to create a system, an economic system, where everybody would receive the same amount from the government. It would be universal basic income. And they would give you a job to do. They say, well, if you only work 20 hours a day, 20 hours a week, right, why we could have abundance and everything we needed, and we'll give you for that work universal basic income. This is the same concept today. What these technocrats are talking about, it's because in their view, they're creating a new class of people that will never be employed again. This is a crazy concept that the unemployable, not the unemployed, the unemployables. And they say, well, we have to give something to these people, otherwise they will rebel. They will get restless and cause trouble. So the concept is, we'll give them money. We'll just throw money at them and keep them quiet, basically.
No, it's a fascinating subject because, again, let me hear this straight from your mouth. This whole concept of AI taking jobs, I mean, people have a right to have a big concern about that. And exactly, what do you do then if you're displaced from your job you're going to become what? A slave to the system so many ways, with all these things, rules, regulations. And we've hardly got the time, and hopefully in the next iteration with you, we can talk about what's happening with property rights. That's an interesting thing, too. I mean, I'm not a big fan of HOAs. I'm not here to yell and scream. It's just that there may be some benefits to people who have an HOA. That's your decision if you want to live like that. But look what's happening. Land grabs all over the place. This whole concept of HOAs, more control. I mean, when do we go back to the concept of freedom? And that's the big question of the hour, right?
Exactly so. Exactly so.
So what else can we talk about in the next 4 or 5 minutes that you've got on your agenda? Because your information is always pertinent and right spot on as far as giving people an alternative to what they may not know about what's coming down the pipeline. But here's the bigger question, Patrick, and please take this the right way. We talk about all the things that you talk about so well on technocracy.news, but give us some hope about what people can really, really do about this. I mean, people could say, well, write your congressmen and senators and tell them that you don't like it, but what really can we do about this? Go ahead.
Well, that's certainly a good thing to do, but I have to say, people ask me all the time, what can I do? They ask me what I'm doing. Well, I'm doing everything I can at this point to educate people. However, the solution is going to be with you. You have to take your own responsibility to make a difference in your community. And maybe it's just talking to a neighbor. Maybe it's talking to one of your city council people or the dog catcher or whatever. You have to make a difference yourself. Otherwise, there'll be no hope, actually. But because the politicians at the top of our system, they don't see what's happening right now, unfortunately. That's their bad, but they don't see it. So we have to educate them as best as we can, and the place to start is in your own community. There's no reason not to do that. The politicians that you elected in your own community, they're your neighbors. In some cases, they're your friends. You have to tell them about technocracy. And you might be surprised how many people get it once they see it.
Yeah, you say it well. Another article that I'm looking at from your website, technocracy.news, is something that goes along these lines. Psychiatric facilities are being bombarded by AI users. Wow, I never thought I'd ever read something like this. To describe it to us. This is amazing.
Isn't that the truth? I've had so many articles over the last 6 months that talk about AI psychosis. Now, I've pledged to put anything I find on this topic on Technocracy News. This is one of those articles. This was a study, actually, that was conducted, and basically there's a new thing. It's called AI psychosis, and what investigative journalists have figured out, the psychiatric facilities across America are being filled up with people who are expressing AI psychosis. What does that mean? Amazing. Well, that means you snap. It means you get separated from reality. It means your family is putting you in the institution to get straightened out. And so, this is a serious problem. And this is the problem that the makers of AI, they're not addressing this issue at all at this point. But it's very serious when somebody goes off the deep end, when they claim somehow their AI chatbot went sentient on them, and all of a sudden it's its own person, it's giving you a view of the inner universe or whatever, and you're smart, you're a genius or whatever. This is crazy stuff, but this is what psychiatrists are seeing all over the country.
Well, let's end off on this one. We find out from your article there's already 1,240 up and running AI data centers in America. But as you describe it, just the tip of the iceberg. That's an average of 25 per state. I didn't know this. This is your article coming to light here. The largest concentrations are in Northern Virginia. And how about that? In my county, Maricopa County, Arizona, and yours. And now Musk is going to develop the Colossus 2, which has this incredible gigawatt power. I mean, where are the water resources for this? Where's all the amazing power? And your electricity bill and mine goes up, inordinately because of this. Wow. what the heck are they doing? I mean, pretty soon everything will be run by these big data centers, right?
Well, that's the intent. They want to get these things established while they still can, economically speaking, and they're so immense at this point you can't imagine. It's beyond our imagination.
That's amazing.
But at this point, the energy requirements are off the charts. The water requirements in Arizona. How can you figure that Arizona would be a good place to locate a data center?
I would never believe it. I mean, it's pretty much sparse, and at one time, it was one of the least populated states in the nation. And, of course, is still a very beautiful state, like many other states around the nation. But, Patrick, I appreciate you taking the lead, and not to remind you, you're a very smart man, but Patrick has agreed to do more investigative journalism on what might be the myth or the reality by some of what's going on with the concept of contrails in the atmosphere, but surely not. We both agree, right, Patrick? It's not on your commercial airline where somewhere in the back of the plane or in the bathroom you'll find somebody saying you go back to your seat, young man or young woman. We have to do some spraying to put people in a bad situation. That's not about to happen. Patrick, it's always a privilege and honor. I hope you'll come back as we can do this in another month or so with your schedule. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate Patrick. Go to Omnivore Symposium, the digital attack on humanity. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to plan my lunch and dinner around one of these so I can look at the whole 5 hours, but well worth the time. And I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen out there, you would agree. Patrick, I appreciate you, and it's technocracy.news as we end this hour, the second hour of this iteration of the Dr. Sky Experience. Thank you so much for being part of our show.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we continue next week with some very fascinating guests, and also we're going to try our very best. We're looking to get a guest that knows the historical side of Christopher Columbus as we go back to our basic tenets of talking about astronomy and space and aviation. What indeed was the route that Christopher Columbus took on many of his voyages, and to talk about him from being a navigator and some of the other important parts of Christopher Columbus, and also a topic about maybe your cell phone, like Patrick was talking about, some problems with the so-called continuance of surveillance. But this time we'll talk about the radiation that's coming from some of your cell phones and other cosmic radiation sources. We now pass the torch of knowledge and dialogue to TJ McCormick for the other side of midnight as he takes you into the early morning hours, wishing each and every one the best. Don't forget that beautiful harvest moon Tuesday evening, a most magnificent sight. From me, Steve Cates, Dr. Sky, wishing you the best for health and happiness, and thanking our helmsmen, both Tony and Bill, for navigating this signal. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Dr. Sky Experience. You can hear the Dr. Sky Experience Saturday mornings, midnight to 2 a.m. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?